Hello and welcome, I'm DJ Mcree, and this is my updated beginner's course for the MPC ONE, but this time we're covering MPC 3.0, which is the OS that has been updated. This update is available for all of the MPCs, so if you have the MPC Live 2, the MPC X, the MPC Key 61, yada yada yada, it will work on those MPCs as well. If you need help installing this update, Akai Professional has a video for you where in the description box you can download the actual beta itself right now. If you happen to watch this video in the future, just know that it will be a full update and this video will work for your MPC. And if you didn't know, it works with the original MPC and the MPC ONE Retro. If you want to learn more about the MPC, check us out at 16levels.com as we have MPC Masterclasses on deck for all of the modern day MPCs. And if you already purchased the Masterclass, yes, it will be a free update with anybody that has the Masterclass already. The link will be in the description box. Thank you so much for your support. Since I know there's beginners to the MPC ONE that are watching this video, we'll talk about the basic stuff. So what we're going to do is look at the back of the unit. So when you get your MPC ONE, you'll need to know that the power button is right here. It's at the left side on the screen here. And if you was to press it, that will turn it on. You should use all the provided cables from Akai when you buy your MPC. So that means if you have this power supply, plug up the power supply to respected power source. And then you have the USB port where you can hook up class compliant stuff like an audio interface to further expand your I/O on your MPC, or just to plug up a MIDI keyboard directly into your MPC. You can use this if you want to expand it some more. You can use a USB hub. I do recommend that. And you can plug this up to your computer so that you can transfer files or use it with the MPC software that is provided by Akai. There's a Kensington lock right here just in case you want to lock your MPC so that people can't take it or move it or whatever the case may be. You have a MIDI in port where you can send MIDI into the MPC. You have a MIDI output port which allows you to send MIDI out of the MPC into a sound module or even an audio interface that supports MIDI. You have a volume knob that you have right over here where you need to adjust the volume when you are sampling into the MPC, because that's the main thing about MPCs people like. You have your inputs right here. As you can see, I have mine plugged up right now and they are 1/4 inch jacks in. So when you plug stuff in, you need 1/4 inch jacks. So from there, you can adjust the volume and just make sure that it's plugged up exactly how it is right here. Then you have your main out where you can plug it up to your audio interface if you want to run sound into your computer, or you can plug it up directly into studio monitors so that you can hear the sound out of your MPC. And what you cannot see over here at the far right side is the volume knob where you can adjust it accordingly just in case it might be too loud or too low. You also have CV and gate right here if you have a modular setup, so you can send CV and gate in or receive some CV and gate. So that is one of the things that I need to point out, and I will have something down the line addressing that. On the very front of your MPC, you'll see there is a SD card slot. So if you have a SD card, you can load up your SD card with sounds or whatever that the MPC can handle and on the SD card, and you can also back up files and so forth and just insert it in here. I do recommend that you always insert or take out your SD card when the MPC is off to avoid any file errors of any sort. You have a phones jack where you can plug in a 3.5 or 8 inch jack into the MPC so you can listen to stuff on your headphones of choice. It is worth noting that I have my MPC plugged up into my audio interface that's right over here, which is the Apollo Soul. That is my audio interface of choice when it comes to a Apple computer. And you will see it's running over here, but you see that they're out of the shot here, that there are studio monitors that you can use and plug up to your MPC. They need to be active studio monitors for you to use them with the MPC. So let's go ahead and insert this SD card into the MPC while it is off. And now we can turn on the MPC respectfully so we can get more into it. So in this process, the MPC is loading the OS, which we're using 3.0 for this. You will be greeted with a splash screen or this screen right here, which is the template screen. And you can select either classic house all the way over here to trap soul if you want to hear the MPC or see how it works in the process. But what we're gonna do is use the choice over here, the bottom left side of the touchscreen, which is new project. Once you hit that, it will load up a new project and you will be greeted with a nice little light show of MPC 3.0 where you can see all the samples that you're pressing on the pads. So if you like that, that's cool. But what I'm gonna do is show you something real quick, and I'm gonna hit the pencil sign and delete this track because I do not want those drums. From here, what I'll do is navigate over here to the bottom left side of the screen and press new track. When you press on new track, this will happen. You'll see add track where you can add in an audio track, you can add in a drum track, you can add in a plugin track, you can add in a key group, you can add in a MIDI track, you'll add in CV and gate. Those are your choices, and you have advanced choices too, in which you can select the type of track that you want, just in case that you are kind of on the fence of what those choices are. So I will select a drum track, hit do it, and then you'll see the drum track right in front of us. One of the main things that you will notice about this, if I was to hit a pad, there's nothing on there because it's an empty drum track. If you want to add sounds into your MPC or from your hard drive or wherever your source is, your SD card drive or whatnot, you would just hit the browse button right here, and then you will navigate to this right here. And we need to talk about that because you have programs over here, you have sequences over here, you have drum programs, which are track programs now, and you have presets, just in case you have presets. But what we need is this right here. So if I wanted to load in, let's say I want to load in this sound right here, which is this sound, we'll hit load and it will load into the pad. And if I was to go back to the main screen, you'll see the actual sound itself, in which you can adjust it freely on the screen right here. So if I didn't like all this right here, and I can just go and navigate through it and choose the change to start endpoints, which is brand new to 3.0. If I hit another pad, then you'll see that that pad is empty and I can continue the process by hitting load. One of the other things that you can do while you're on this screen right here is you can hit load into pool, which will load it into the sample pool, but will not load it on that pad that I have selected. So as you can see, if I'm pressing on this pad, there's nothing there. And if I wanted to load up that sample that I have selected from the sample pool, you will go right back to the bottom left side of the touch screen and hit sample assign. So I can go through all the sounds that exist into my sample pool and I can just select that sound. So maybe I like this sound right here. Now I have that sound into the pad, and if you want to clear that pad, well, you would hit clear pad, which is at the bottom right of the touch screen. So I'm going to clear this pad, I'm going to hit this pad and clear this pad, and now there's nothing in there. And if you want to get out of sample assign, well, you would hit this tab right here that says sample assign, and it will bring you right back into the browser. There are other things that I can show you as far as browsing, which is you can type in something like bass, depending on where you're at, and in how your samples are named. So naming your samples or whatnot, or buying samples that have correct tagging will allow you to scroll through all your basses. So I have nothing but basses over here at the particular time. But if I was to go and hit the X sign so I can get out of that, it will bring back all of the choices that I have on the screen. So that is important. You can also hit this cogwheel over here and choose different browser options, just in case you are a little different than what I am when it comes to this. You also can choose if you want to turn on addition, so you can auto addition stuff as you go down. You can change the volume of it so it can be louder. You can do syncing, so if it's a loop, it'll sync to the BPM that is existing right now, or you can choose to warp. So those are things that you have as options over here. And of course, you can hit this play button and it'll play the sample itself. So those are things that you need to know. But what we're going to do is something a little different. We're going to go over here to an expansion. I'm going to go over here to ARAP Music expansion right over here. I will select the program right over here, or the track itself, I guess, a track program, whatever you want to call it. And then I will choose audition so we can hear some of the sounds that we want to select. So I like that. So what I'll do is I will choose to load. So I will load it in. And then if we go back to the main screen after this process, you will see that I have a track right over here. Then that's the only track. So if I was to play with all the sounds, then I can just play with all the sounds like I normally would on MPC 2.0 or below. Now, I think another thing that we should do is talk about how this new mainstream works. So right here, you have sequences. You can choose different sequences and stuff like that. I believe you have over you can do up to 99 different sequences. You can change the BPM. I will change the BPM to something like 78 BPM so you can see it. And once you do that, you can see 78 BPM. There is a pencil sign over here that brings you up to more options such as erase, clear, trim, transpose, delete bars, insert bars, half length, double length. So if you have, like, for instance, if we was to go back to the screen, you see it's a 4-bar loop, and if I was to hit the pencil sign and hit double length, then it will become a 8-bar loop. And if you don't like anything that you have changed, you can always use this button right over here, which is the undo button, and it will bring it back to what it was before you did the change. And you can also transpose stuff right over here on the screen. I believe the other things that we haven't talked about is you can copy a sequence, you can copy bars, you can copy events over here by using this pencil sign. You can also choose to loop the track or not to loop the track. I don't know why you wouldn't want to loop the track while you're making a beat, but some people have that, they want to do that. So you also can do transposing up and down, which will change the pitch of the overall sequence itself. So keep that in mind if you are into that kind of stuff. Over here, you can also change if you press and hold or press or tap over here, then you can change if you want it to be a key group, plugin, MIDI, CV and gate, or audio track. So you can do that after the fact. If you press and hold on the screen right over here where the name of the sample is, you can change the name of it too. So I'm going to change this track to drums. So I'll put drums with an S, and then you have the drums. You can also change the position of it, so you can move the drums from track number 1 to track number 10. If you have 10 tracks or whatever, you can choose to turn on and off record arm. You can do MIDI routing. You can route all ports, MIDI keyboard, whatever you want. I'll keep it on all ports. You can do MIDI input channel. You can do MIDI monitoring, which I recommend that you don't change. Keep it on auto. And then you can do MIDI sends. And then you can do general settings and change the colors, which I'll change this to, I guess, midnight. And you'll see the effects of that when we go over to the arranger view, because that's one of the main things you want to do. You also have this arrangement tab over here where if you was to record anything in there, you can see it. And then if you was to double tap on it, it will bring you into the grid mode where you can change all the MIDI events, or basically this is the piano roll on the MPC. So now that you know all of that, we can get into the basics of making a drum line. So making a drum line is a simple process that we're going to discuss in the easiest way as possible. So the one thing that you need to get familiar with is this transport area right here, where you can transport, you can record, overdub, stop, play, and play start. Play start plays everything from the very beginning, while play will play it from wherever you stopped at. If you hit stop, it will stop. Overdub means that it will continuously record over, but I will just demonstrate it by making a drum line. As you can hear, I was off beat when I was recording that, and there was no metronome, and that's where I want to kind of segue into this. So if you have the Q link on this button right here, which is Q link button number 1, you will have these following options. One of the other things that you could do is change if you want to see the Q link status. So if you press and hold Q link, you can turn on and off the Q link status, which I recommend that you keep on if you're a beginner, because you have other options too. You can, from the Q link 1, you can change the track level. You can change the playhead. You can move the playhead back and forth. You can turn or enable MIDI recording. So now if we was to record inside of here, you will hear a continuous click. And then from here, you can change the metronome level. If it's too loud, then you can adjust it. So let's do that. As you can hear, it was a little too low. I'm going to turn it up a little bit more, and then we're good to go. So now let's record that in piece by piece. can hear I'm off beat, but we'll get into that right now, a reason why it is quantizing. And as you can hear, it recorded everything perfectly. What I can do is touch this Q link and then turn off metronome so now that it won't play even if I'm recording. As you can see, it's overdubbing right now. So turn off overdub so you don't record anything in on accident. And then we're gonna get into another thing right here. So the main thing I want to talk about is this. Just like all DAWs, you have options for your metronome. So if you was to press over here on this part of the screen, then you'll get these options. You'll see that there's a count in on record, there's a count in on play start. You can turn off the count in, which is a 1 bar count. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will go into the recording process. You can choose to enable. What we did was we turned off the metronome while on play or on record. I'll leave it off. You can change the rate. I do not recommend it. Keep it on 1/4. You can change the sound itself. You can change the side sticks all the way down to the classic MPC click. I'll use Metro click still. You can go over here. You can set the level right over here. You can choose the different outputs. So if you are a finger drummer, but you are used to, or if you're a live performer and you want to stay in the pocket, you can send the output of the metronome click to outputs 3 and 4, or whatever outputs that you have extra. On the MPC One, you only have one choice. So that's the kind of the thing about the MPC One. I'll just keep it on out 1 and 2. And we just go from here. So I just exit it out. The other thing that I want to show you is by pressing the TC button, which means timing correct. That's what that means. And that timing correct is quantized. You can do global quantizing, and you can turn it on, you can turn it off if you want your drums to feel, loose. You can choose the time divisions, basically the same as you would in the DAW. You can choose triplets by hitting the triplet button over here. And you can choose where to start, the type start in. You can choose all events. You can choose to swing if you want to have swing in your beat. You can choose to shift timing from over to the right or to over to the left a little bit more than usual. You can change the window, the strength, and you can do it on one track, or you can do it on all tracks at one time. So we close that out, and let's talk about the other thing, which is this right here. So one of the biggest features on the MPC, which has been copied by every drum sampler or drum machine on planet Earth, is note repeat. So if I was to press and hold the note repeat button, which is at the bottom left side of the MPC One, then you'll see different time signatures. You can also double tap and it will lock in to note repeat. It will latch. If I was to press play start and hit this pad and go to 132, we can do faster hi-hats. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll press record and play start. Everything is gone. What happened? Don't worry about it. Well, the main reason why that happened is because I did record and play start instead of overdub and play start. If you ever have that issue, well, you need to hit the undo button. So if you hit the undo button, it will bring everything back. So what we need to do is hit overdub and play start so we can add those hi-hats in there. So now you can hear everything has been added, but we're gonna go another step. We're gonna talk about the 16 level button. So what we're gonna do is hit the 16 level button, and then we're gonna choose tune. You have different options like velocity tune, filter, layer, and slice, and attack, decay, probability, ratchet. Boy, there's a lot more stuff than I remember. So, but we're gonna go over here and choose tune. And what that's gonna do is allow us to have lower hi-hats and higher hi-hats. So we'll go over here and lower the pad, the original pad, and you'll hear lower pitches. So what we want to do is close, and then after we close that, then we can go over here to note repeat and then set it up the way we want. So now overdub, play start. and now everything is in there. And now we have an eclectic drum line similar to how you would do in a DAW. So I did say we was going to sample in this video, and usually I don't do this in the beginner's course because sampling can get real deep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sample from my iPad, which is plugged up inside of my MPC, going right here. This is the wire all the way into the input, what we was talking about at the very beginning of the video. So if you missed that, you did. So the first thing we need to do is this. We need to go ahead and hit the sampler button, which is located right here. Look where my finger is located. And we're going to go into the sampler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample this stuff, but before we do, we need to accomplish a couple of things. If I was to play the sample, you can't hear it, but you can see it on the screen that it's playing. That's not my voice, as you can see. So if I was to stop the sample, then the sample stops, but we don't have any audio. How you fix that is you hit this in, and it's monitoring in. So now that we have that, we need to go, and I'll show you another thing too, which is you can insert some effects while you are recording in, and it will bake it into the sample. That is something that is exclusive to the modern day MPCs. If you want to record stuff in, well, you can record stuff in by hitting ARM, but you see it's not playing or recording as of right now. What it would need is for you to adjust the threshold. So this is the threshold here, and as you can see, it started recording. If I hit stop, then I see that I've recorded a sample in, but there's nothing there because we know it because we didn't hear anything, right? So we'll discard that for right now, okay? And we'll set a threshold. And then when I hit the threshold now, you don't see anything, and that's for a particular reason, because we do not want it to play anything, right? So I just messed up, but it's cool. We'll just go ahead and discard, and then I will just set the sample back to the very beginning. So here we go. I'm going to record this stuff in, and let's start it. Since I'm using a commercial record, I will not go through the process, but I wanted to show you the actual process itself. So now that I have the sample in here, you can play it and preview it. You can hear Pac talking or whatnot. I'm going to call this Rider. I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to spell it R-I-D-A-H. And now we have the name of it. You can choose the track too. Right now, I don't want to use the drums track because that track has all of my drums in it. So I'll go over here to an empty track. It will say none, and that'll be fine. You can also choose to create one beforehand, but that is fine right here. So the next thing I want to do, since I have that, I can choose keep, but what I want to do is edit the sample. So I can hit this edit button, or I can hit this button over here, which is sample edit, and then edit the stuff in. So I know I want this part right here. So I'm going to go over to this part right here. And as you can see, the touchscreen does work in this manner where you can drag over the start and end points. You can also use your cue links over here to go to the start and end points, as long as you know that your cue links are correlated with whatever cue link option over here on your MPC ONE. Now that I have selected the second cue link button over here, then I can adjust the endpoint of the sample itself. And if any of this stuff gets in your way, like you see this information getting in your way when you're touching on the cue links, well, you can press and hold the cue link and do cue link. It will say cue link status, and it'll turn it off just for this example. So when you go over here for this example, now that I touch it, it does not display anything. But I usually have this just to keep it from going crazy. From here, what we want to do is use some of these correlating pads right over here. This pad will allow you to play it. And now I'm going to go over here to where it says police. And then I will adjust the endpoint until it is correct. And I need it to loop. If your MPC is not loop, or this sample is not looping, then you need to press and hold shift and turn on loop. So if you turn on loop, it will loop the process, and then you can turn it off if you don't want it to loop the process. But these pads in general just do the looping anyways. And I like that. So now we can trim the sample itself. So there's two different ways that you can trim the sample, and we need to do it one way by going into process. So if you discard the sample, it's going to discard everything that's outside of the start and end point of the sample. But if I was to go over here and do extract, it will extract the new sample and create a new sample from everything that's in between the start and end point that we heard. So what I'll do is I'll do it, and it will create a new sample. However, you see the old sample still there, and you would have to select over here rider 1. So rider 1 will sound like this. And if you need to, you can pull it in or pinch it out. Pull and pinch will work exactly like it would on an iPad or a tablet of some sort. Everything's fine. I like that. So what I'll do is go over here and let me show you a little slower. I'll go to this arrow, this right arrow, and then I can see if this sample is a G minor. It says A sharp minor for right now, so that's cool. That's information that we can use in further processes down the line. What I want to do is pitch it down. Now there is a way to tune it down right here on the screen, but it will make the sample slower, and I don't want the sample to be slow. I just want to pitch it down. So I'll go over here into process, and then I will select pitch shift. I'll make it 1 semitone down, and then I'll hit do it, and then it will go through the processing, and that sample will change. Now if I hit detect key, it will be a G minor. Oh, it says A minor. Okay. Well, a G minor correlates to an A minor. If you play any piano stuff, you know that. So I like that. Now, if I wanted to chop up the sample, I can go into a process called chopping. So if you look at the screen right now, you'll see that I have trim in front of us. That's the option that we're using right now. But if I was to tap on that tab, it will go into the chopping process where you can manual chop. And now I've chopped up that sample, right? So everything is cool in this perspective, but what if we don't like those chops? Well, we can press and hold shift, and then you can choose clear all, and it'll clear all those chops. And there are other options too, like threshold, which will chop everything at the biggest threshold. And there's another one called region chopping, which is more like the MPC 2000, the 2000 XL and above. And then there's BPM chopping that's more like the MPC 2500, which will chop in BPM. And you can change the time divisions over here at the bottom right side. You'll see time divisions similar to like time signatures. And you can get more chops, less chops, just by using the data wheel over here. So that is one thing that you can do. And since I'm not going to chop this up, but if you were to chop this up and we liked everything, then we can go over here to convert. And then you can do a new drum track using slices. So if I was to do that and I hit do it and go back in the main, now we have all those samples chopped over here. But you need to go out of 16 levels so it doesn't have it play it by pitch. So as you can see, I have that there. I don't have any use for it, so I will go and delete that, because what I'm going to do is just create another drum track, and then I will insert the sample the exact same way I showed you earlier when we was talking about browsing or whatnot. So I'll go into sample assign, I'll go over here to rider 1, and then I will set it up on this pad right over here, and then I will load it in. And that's the other way that you can load up a sample if you just want to loop it. Now I have a BPM over here, which is 78 BPM, and if I was to loop this, so let's go ahead and try to loop it. You see, it's not correlating with that. And how you would fix that, you would double tap on this right here, which is a new feature in 3.0, and then we can go over here to warp, which has always been there, and then we can mess with the pad. And if I was to record now, let's do that. I'm a little offbeat, but still, you know, quantize will work. And then it'll loop over. Now, this sample in itself has drums in it, has Tupac talking, which, you know, we can rock with Tupac talking and whatnot. That's all cool. It's all great and all that. But what I want to do is show you another thing. So let's go into sample edit. So make sure that you look at my finger right over here. So this is my finger, and it will go over here to sample edit. And what we're going to do is a feature that is only on the MPC. If you purchase it, it's like $10 for stem separation, and you'll see stem separation right here. So what we want to do is remove some of those elements, which you can. So if I don't want to use vocals, I don't want to use the bass, I don't want to use the drum, I don't want to use anything, then I can not select that. But what I'm going to do is just keep that thing selected, and then you can see over here you can assign it to a pad. So make sure that you understand that you're on drum track number 2. So drum track number 2 is the name of the drum track. So keep that in mind. So if you want to assign it, you can assign it to pad number 2, 1, and whatever, and so forth, and do that. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is just hit do it, and then we're going to go and separate those stems. Now that the process is over with, we can preview stuff. So it's not 100%. This is in standalone, but it's different when using in controller mode. But I like what I have right here. That's good for what I want to do. And here's the drums. Here's the bass. The bass didn't pick up anything. And this is the full entire track that we was using earlier, what we sampled or whatnot. But I just want to use that right here. So we can use that. We can go over here into the main, and then we can choose, and all of the stuff should be over here in this track right here. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is just double tap on the screen, and then we'll assign all that stuff into, see, we have rider vocals. Let's go into rider other. And as you can hear, there's multiple things that are going on, and you can control that and change the volume of all that stuff by going over here to the sample tab right over here, hitting samples, going to tune and mix, and you can adjust stuff by going into the third Q link and then using your Q links to adjust things as possible. So the other is there, but what you can do in perspective, if you don't want to dump it into one of those tracks, well, you can just adjust it over here in samples. But the main thing you want to know is the BPM that was changed through warping, and that way you can see that warping only takes on the actual layer itself. We'll just get rid of all the other stuff. So what I'll do is go into the tune. We'll go and select Q link over here, and then we'll adjust the level of 1 back to what it was. And now that we have that sample in there, when I'm playing it, it's already synced. So make sure it's on layer number 1, because layer number 1 is the only layer that will sync at this moment. Now that we have that going, let's go into the main, and then we'll select a new track. This time I will use a plugin. So now that we have selected a plugin, we can go ahead and add some melodic tones. I'm going to start with a bass line. So from here, we can start up a bass line, but we need to select a plugin. So when we select a plugin, I'm going to go ahead and select one that you can get out of kaiPro.com. I'll have it linked in the description box, which is Subfactory. So I selected Subfactory, and then I can go into the UI. I know I'm going a little fast here, but you can select your UI from here. But on the MPC ONE, you can hit the program edit button, and it will pull up your UI. So I have the UI here. What I would do is I'll select a preset. You can hear the bass. Here's a little cheat code here. If you pay attention to the bottom right side of the screen, you'll see the MPC pads, and now this is the new pad perform. The new pad perform, you can lock into scale just like you could in 2.0 or whatever version that you was using that had pad perform. So I did discover that it's more like a C# minor than anything. So it's good to kind of play with stuff before you go into the recording process. Also, another note, you can change the octaves over here. Or you can change the octaves by going over here and just pressing or going down a note, and you'll see it on the screen. You'll see it as lower notes, but I just recommend just going over here and doing that. You can also change it by make sure that you select the root note, and if you click down on the data wheel, It'll tell you if you're in octave 1, octave 2, or whatever. But well, let's go ahead and record it in. You can record it from this screen right here. All right, so we have everything recorded in. You can just hit main, and then you can just make adjustments accordingly. I'm not going to go into detail of how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it right in front of you. As a matter of fact, this is what I will do. I will show you something which is important, which is adding effects. So if I tap on this side of the screen over here, you can see it. If I tap it, it will bring out the plugin itself. You need to go into effects, and once you go into effects, this is what you can do. If you add or hit the plus sign over here, then you get the list of effects that you have. So I'm going to go over here to harmonics. I'm going to go and add distortion, and then we have distortion on the 808. Now from here, I can just hit this arrow, and this arrow will pull me up into this screen, and then I can hit the pencil sign, and it will bring me into the effect itself. And the respected effect itself will allow you to do different things in correlation with your cue links. So if I wanted to adjust, since this is very, very, very heavy, I can change it to soft, change the drive. I can go over here to threshold, change threshold clipping. I can change the high cut, low cut, go into shape. Change it to a stereo. But you just want to make adjustments according to taste. I just want you to hear that 808. And there you go. So from here, I can go in to another track, which would help if I go into new track. Trust me, I'm getting adjusted to this workflow too. I'm going to add another plugin in here. Now from here, I can add another plugin. I have Jura set up by default. I'll go into Jura and then adjust or go and change the preset. You don't necessarily have to do it. You can change the preset on the main screen itself. I will look for a soft lead. So I found this sound right here. I want to keep it like that. So let's go ahead and record that in. And we can do some other adjustments too. Now that we have that in here, one of the other things I want to show you is that you can adjust the actual sample itself, or the track itself, my bad. And you can change the track level. So you can change the volume this way. Let's do it in real time. Now maybe I want to change some of the speed of it. Now remember, I have the sample warp, and I can adjust it. And you can adjust it any way that you want. Now that we have that going, we can just start a new track. What I'll do is I'll add another plug-in track, and then we'll go and select the sound. So I like this sound right here, these pizzicato strings. What I'll do is I'll record them in. And now that I recorded that in, and I'm going to show you something right here. So again, you remember this arrangement tab over here on the MPC 3.0, you can see the MIDI. So if I was to double tap into here, then I will see the MIDI over here. Now, this is where I talk about the grid. So you can actually access the grid by pressing Shift and then the main button, and it'll bring you into the grid. But I just wanted to show you the new way. So I don't want to do what I just played. I don't want to do that over and over again because I mess up, right? So what I want to do is select everything, and you can actually press Shift and select all, and it will select everything in here. So if we just go Shift and copy, it will copy everything just like it would on a computer, copy and paste. What we want to do now is identify where the playhead is. So if we adjust the playhead, which we will do by going and using the Q link buttons, you can see that we can adjust it over here. And now I can press Shift and paste, and it'll paste everything over. I can rinse and repeat the process. What I'll do this time is I will select all, and then I will use the playhead to go over to the point that I want to be, and then press Shift and paste. And now I can just select everything over. That's not what I wanted, but you know, that will work for right now. I will go and press Shift, paste, boom, everything is over. And if I think that's too low, I can go over here to plugin, low an octave. I will just go and transpose it up, 12 semitones. And if I think it's too much, I will just turn down the track level. The other thing that you can do is on this side of the screen, you can go and press that button over there, and it will bring you into the new track view. So now we can mix stuff in front of us by either adjusting it by touching on the screen, Q-Link, not the Q-Link, but the data wheel. And then we can adjust things as we want. And this gives you a good visual representation. I think that's better. And then we have everything good to go. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to keep the beat simple. I will go and press menu, and then we'll just get access to the arranger. Now you can change the arranger, and since it's in the sense of where you can press and hold menu and press the correlating pad that's on the screen. So this will be this pad right here to go back into main mode, which we don't need a button for that because there's already a button for that. You can go and press on, well, let me do that right. Press and hold menu and then go into arranger. Now we can see the arranger right in front of us. And it looks like this. So from here, we can start doing stuff with the arrangement. Now on arranger mode, you can do a couple of things. So I'm going to show you on the screen. You could do automation, of course. So if you was to make this red, that means that you can record automation, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. You can change the bars. You can see where the playhead is at on here. Of course, there are different features here. You can choose where to adjust the loop point. So if I was to go to this Q link, which is Q link number 3, I can adjust it to the very beginning and it'll play. And if I was to turn loop off, it will turn the loop off. So it won't loop at the very end. So let's turn loop back on. You have this edit over here where you can erase, clear, trim, transpose, delete bars, insert bars, half length, double length, and copy sequence and so forth. It's similar to what you could do on the main screen. You also have this cogwheel over here where you can change some of the play modes, the snap modes, absolute to relative. So I'm going to change it back to absolute, and then I'll go back into the arranger and then I'll mess with that, and you can see it's about the same. Tomato, tomato, I guess, right? But more importantly, what we have is these 4 bars. We want to make this into a song. So let's go ahead and make it into a song by going into edit. And what we'll do is we'll double the length. Now it went from 4 to 8 bars. We can repeat the process. Let's go ahead and make a few bars here. And we have 16 bars. Now we have 32 bars. I think 32 bars will be fine for right now, I guess. So 32 bars in this track, with a total of 92 ticks. What we want to do is, and this is where you need to get affirmated with the loop head. So we're going to start it off right here. So we're at the loop end. So we're going to adjust it some more. Now we're at this bar right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know I want to make the intro a little longer. So what I'll do is I'll adjust it some more here. And let's count it. 2, 3, 4. I know I want to erase some things. So how we want to erase stuff? So everything that will be erased will be judged off of how you have this loop set. So that's where we can get familiar with another feature, which is the erase button that is down here. From here, you want to select the tracks that you want to delete. So that's an important thing to do. So what we'll do is select that track. Let's erase it, hit do it, and now that track is gone. But if I was to hit this reset button right over here, you can see that it is not erased out of everything. So the next thing I want to do, since the drums are here, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So let's go ahead and repeat that process, and I'll do it until I have something ready. Now I have my intro. This is how it sounds. And it's 4 bars. So let's count that together. 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So now that we have that, we can just go ahead and adjust the playhead itself again, or the loop start point, and then we'll go to where we need to be, which is the hook. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it to about 4 bars over here, and maybe I don't want this. So what I'm going to do is delete the pizzicato strings over here. Let's delete that. Boom. So we have that. And then if we was to adjust, let's go ahead and adjust it to 8 bars, and it'll be like that. So now I can go ahead and adjust the playhead. You can move the playhead freely between the bars. And now I know that this is 8 bars. So I can just go ahead and just delete. We're going to start with the hook. So what I'm going to do is erase this. And then I'll erase the lead. Then I'll erase, let's see. I erase the bass or the kick or whatever. I mean, the sub 808, whatever. Let's delete that. Now, maybe I want to add like a bass to it because it's a little too empty for my taste. You can record inside of this right here, the arranger. And everything is recorded in. Now that we have something else, we can go ahead. Let's just play it from this position right here. You can hit the play start or hit this part of the screen, and it will bring the playhead over. Let's go over here. Now I can start with other parts. I will go and move the playhead over so we can mess with the second part. You know, we're just doing 16 bars here. You can do as many bars as you want, by the way. You can, if you want to do 12 bars, that's fine. But we'll just go ahead and erase the lead. And if we want to create drops, of course, you can do this right here where you can expand what you were looking at. And let's just make it to where we can see it. Boom. And maybe I want to drop out the drums in this instance right here. I just erase that. Boom. And we're good to go from here. So we already have our 16 bars. What we're going to do is a simple process. And before we do that, let's just go ahead and look at the whole entire piece in itself. We know we want the hook right here. So we will just go ahead and delete everything out of these tracks. So let's delete that. Delete everything. Simple process here. And everything's deleted. Well, one thing is not, clearly. It is this part. I just used the reset button so I can see everything. Now there's nothing there. Now, how do we move everything over that we've done so far? Well, clearly, the first thing we need to do is set the start point to where the hook comes in. So let's set the start point where the hook comes in, and then we'll set the end point. And if everything gets in your way, of course, HuLink will save everything in that instance here. So I move everything over and I can see everything because I don't have the HuLink notification or whatever getting in the way. Now that we have that, we'll just go over here to edit, and then we'll set up, you know, copy bars. So we'll do copy bars, boom. We see first 5 bars here. And see, it starts the first 5 bars, last is 28. After bar 28 is what you want. We can set up how many copies. So let's say we want to do it about 2 more times. Then we can do that, hit replace, boom, everything is there. And now we have a whole entire song. We can always reset it so we can see it. You want to set up, or you can turn the loop off if you wanted to play from the very beginning. And then you can just set the loop end up. So if we got to scroll on over, and then we have everything good to go, okay? And then we have a whole track. And let's go and bring it to the beginning here. So we just hit that reset button right over here. There are other things that you could do. If you press and hold on the track itself, you can see that you can still delete tracks. You can delete the whole entire track if you don't want that. You can make a copy of the track. You can do copied events. So you can copy events over. You can double the speed, half the speed. So if I was to double the speed, it would be like this right here. It'll sound weird, but it'll sound weird. I can undo it and get rid of that. Undo. But as you can see, there's a myriad of things that you could do. You can bounce to sample, you can bounce to audio track, so you can send it to an audio track. If you bounce it to sample, it will be in the sample pool. You can bounce to audio track over here, and then it will tell you 0 tail, so you don't want no tail at the end of it. So if I was to bounce it down, then you can see that there's a bounce down track of what we just chose, and which is the drums. Of course, you would want to delete your drums, but I do not recommend that in this case, because you might want to do some other things to it. So what I'll do is I'll undo that, and I'll show you another thing too, because this is important and many people don't talk about it. So I hit the main button and you'll see the drums over here. Let's go to that drum track. Everything's there. What we'll do is hit the pencil sign, and we can choose to explode the track itself. So we'll choose explode track, and what it will do is it'll make an individual track for each and every individual drum itself. And if we was to go back into the arranger, then you'll see that there are all the drum tracks that are in blue. And you can change the color and the hue of it or whatnot too. You would just have to double tap, and then you can change all the correlating tracks to that so that you have control over that. And then that brings us into something right here, which I'm going to go ahead and undo the track explode. And then I'll just go back into arrange. And now you see that the tracks are back the way it was at the very beginning. Now I want to show you track muting. So now that we have track muting here, you hit the track mute button just like you would normally, and then you will be able to mess with the track itself. If I was to mute, I guess, all the tracks except for 2, and I can just mute that. And you won't hear anything until I unmute the drums. Now we can change all of that stuff immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute well, I won't mute anything because I don't need to mute anything for the instance here. But what I will do is I will turn on the automation. So that way, this is the new way of doing track mutes. It's not like track mutes don't exist anymore. They just don't exist in the proper form right now because we're still in beta, and it will be added later, of course. So what I'm going to do is just record stuff in and drop it out the way I want it, or the way that you might want it for whatever track that you are using. So and I can do everything in real time. That wasn't there before. I'm controlling it now. And I believe you get the picture. So if I was to play it from the very beginning again, and we was to go back into press and hold menu here, I'm going to choose arrange, then you'll be able to see everything in hand. And it's also important that you know that if you hit this up arrow, that you can see all the MIDI. You can also see all the automation and stuff too, and control different parameters too. So you got probability. If you want to add that in there, you can see the track mutes right here. This is the track mute automation. So if you want to draw it in, you can draw it in, and delete it if you want to delete it. You see? And the reason why it's like this now, because with an arranger, you can record into the arranger, do flips and stuff like that, and you don't necessarily have to use song mode. I know a lot of people have an issue with that, but it's fine. You know, trust me, this is, once you get used to it, you will be surprised. You won't even care about doing stuff in song mode, and there's no need to do extra sequences or anything like that, because you're just editing everything at once. And that was kind of the reason why you would do song mode, and then you would convert stuff over. I've done a video on that, but that's what we're dealing with as of right now. That isn't the final thing. A lot of people have made their complaints, you know, obvious. So with that, we have a whole entire beat. So how do we save it? Well, the main thing you need to do is go over here and press menu, and then we're going to go into save. There's save buttons right here. In order to save the project, you will need to hit save, and then you will save the project. There's also other things that you will notice, which is brand new to 3.0, which is project as, and that this is not new. New project, track effects. You can save track racks. You can save plugin programs. You can save, or you can do track as audio. You know, you can do track MIDI patterns, all tracks, audio mix down, which, you know, if you want to stem stuff out, you can stem stuff out, which is a whole lot easier now. Let me go back in here, but we're going to just go ahead and save it. I'm going to save it on my SD card, which is right here. And we'll just go over here to MPC3 song projects. We'll just name this Traptendo Rider. So let's name it Traptendo Rider, and we should be good to go. And ride the, of course, RIDAH. And then you'll hit save. Once you hit save, it will go through the process of saving, and you are good to go. Your track is saved, and you don't have to do anything else, but just listen to your track in its entirety. You can do it on this screen. You can press and hold menu and hit the correlating pad that has the arranger on it. Boom. Also, by the way, you can go over here. You can press and hold arrange. You can put it over here as a shortcut and have it exchange for whatever else. I'm gonna go ahead and go back, boom, and set that up. Let's, matter of fact, I just messed up mulligan, but yeah, you can just set it up the way that you want. You can also reset this screen too. So yeah, those are all the things that you could do within 3.0. There's more, but I'll have to cover it in future videos. So let me know what you think about MPC 3.0. Do you have a better understanding of how the new OS works because of this video? Just let me know what I did right. Let me know what I did wrong. I know you guys will do that. And yeah, it was a learning curve as everything else, but it wasn't so difficult. The workflow hasn't changed that much. I've already said it before. For those who have access to the public beta, which everybody has access to it, just know that things won't be perfect because it's a beta, but as things go past, and most people will discover in the future that everything will be just fine. To the right of me, I have more content. Make sure that you subscribe. Again, I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Was this video useful to you? I try to break it down as easy as humanly possible. I know it's a lot more than what people are used to because you're used to what you're already used to. But yeah, just give it a try and see if you learn something new.